talking about the passion economy. And Lena and I joke that is it maybe true that the passion economy is putting lipstick on a pig? What do we mean by that? Well, the passion economy is this place where people say you can make a living or you can have your gig side hustle that brings in some serious money so that you can do what you want on the weekends and you can make some money. But we're not really sure that's true. So we're going to dive into that a little bit today. Lena Ramfelt, one of my favorite people in the world, is with us. And Lena is lead faculty for Creative Startups. She is an angel investor. She is an entrepreneurship educator, author, etc. Thank you, Lena, for joining me to have this maybe argument. We don't know if we're going to argue about it today.
Alice, aren't you going to share about who you are?
I'm Alice. I run Creative Startups, and my favorite thing in the world is to work with creative entrepreneurs or creators who are entrepreneurs or maybe cultural entrepreneurs. Okay, so let's first talk about definitions because we've been doing this work for a long time. So Creative Startups has been around since 2007, which means we're a dinosaur in the world of entrepreneurship ecosystems. And when we started this work, the term that was common was cultural economy. So you worked in the cultural economy. If, for example, you were a photographer, you worked in the cultural economy. If you were a designer of museum exhibits, you worked in the cultural economy. If you were a dancer, theater, musician, filmmaker, cultural. That has changed. And now people talk about the creative economy, but we're also moving into what some people call the creator economy or the passion economy. I think it's interesting to think about who are the people who are filling those spaces. So I'll give you an example. Creative might be a filmmaker. You could argue that Steven Spielberg is a creative entrepreneur, right? He's a filmmaker. He makes money doing it. He has business companies, etc. So what's the difference between that and maybe a creator, like our friend Benjamin Van Wong, who is a photographer that creates these immersive, amazing scenes that you can become sort of a part of and does it for a message, like around climate change or pollution in the ocean. So Benjamin Van Wong is a creator. Is he an influencer? I don't know. Lena, you sent me a sort of a diagram of the most famous influencers in the world just this morning. Who was the top 2 or 3? Do you remember?
To be honest, no.
You know why? Because you are not a celebrity follower. So they were like The Rock, right? Dwayne Johnson, Shakira, Jennifer, oh my God, what's her name? J-Lo from way back in the day, who I think of from In Living Color, if anybody out there is old enough to remember In Living Color. Famous people. They're all very famous. Now, you could say they're creators in that they are filmmaking, they're actors, some of them are musicians, so they make both music and video, etc. But they're not creators in the sense that we're talking about today. So when we talk about creators, Lena, what are we talking about? Like Thinkific. Who's a creator who might be on Thinkific?
So, because I think that I'm more comfortable with the passion economy in trying to explain who are on Thinkific. I think it's and the other platform. I think it's I know it's people who have passion for something, and they really want to bring that to the world. Yeah, and Thinkific and the other platforms make it possible for them to do that, and that's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool.
I mean, Steven Spielberg, he doesn't need that.
No, exactly. He doesn't need Instagram to share his photography. He doesn't need Patreon if he wants to put out a new movie to go raise the money. So the passion economy then is a place where creatives, cultural creators can all make money. But some of the wording or articles we've read around the passion economy are definitely like, it's your side hustle, it's your passion. When you read that, what does that make you think?
So several things. One thing is, of course, that I get a little bit worried because I don't want people to think that, oh, I have a passion, therefore I can make money using one of these platforms.
Yeah. Are people making money on these platforms?
No, I mean, so I'm a Swede, so of course I know about the stat behind Spotify, and only a little bit more than 1% of people on Spotify can make a living out of it.
1%.
Yes, I think it's actually 1.4%. It's from a Harvard Business Review article, so I think it's pretty trustworthy.
So musicians who are streaming their work on Spotify are not making money unless you're an influencer, unless you're a celebrity. Is that true?
Exactly. Yes. But I find it interesting, and it might be because I'm a little bit too old now, but I find it interesting because maybe there is something in the passion economy where people. There are two things. One thing is that there might be opportunities that I can't figure them out. I mean, when we say Steven Spielberg doesn't need he doesn't need these platforms to raise money for his next movie, but it might be that these are the next kind of ways of getting funding. But I also find it interesting because we have to remember that 80% of the jobs that the next generation are going to have are not invented yet.
Yeah. Whole new economy is coming, and we don't really know where it's coming from or what it will be.
Exactly. So by being on these platforms, they might be exposed to totally new job opportunities. And I find that really interesting. So two things. One is that, and the other one is that maybe the next generation are not going to have one job. So when you say side hustle, is kind of that's kind of it's just my side hustle. Okay, but maybe they have two side hustles, and that's their job.
So this is a philosophical question, but you live in a country where a lot of, I wouldn't say basic needs, but healthcare, education are really paid for through the tax base, right? The government. The US, we're not there yet. I think we should go that direction more, not totally, but more. And it makes it hard, right? So how do you have a side hustle or three side hustles that add up to being a good living wage, a good salary, if you can't have healthcare, if you can't get access to affordable education? These are some of the questions that I think, the passion economy doesn't brush up against yet, but it will, because we're talking about transforming the economy from being people have a job for 20, 30, 50 years at the plant down the road. Now they have, this sort of collection of activities that they hopefully get paid well to do. But where is that sort of social base of support for when things maybe go wrong, et cetera? That's something the passion economy doesn't look at or talk about yet. And if people aren't making a living, that's even more concerning, right? So how does that shift? So what are things that could work to help make people more successful if the passion economy comes to really become a viable economic engine?
So I think there are two things. I mean, first of all, is for the people who are part of the passion economy or want to be part of the passion economy to realize that they are entrepreneurs.
Yep.
So, and
that
we
opens up a
all,
new world of resources for them. Once they see themselves as entrepreneurs, they go, oh, well, then I can learn how to be an entrepreneur, a better entrepreneur.
yeah, but first, kind of, and this is something that we have seen when we work with creatives, Alice, is that creatives, we love working with creatives, but they have two challenges. One challenge is that one challenge is that they identify themselves as creatives. I'm a photographer. I'm a chef. I'm a and to make the transition to say, no, I'm not only a photographer. I'm also a business person. I'm an entrepreneur. That's one. The other one is it would be interesting to see in the comments what people, kind of pushing back on that one, is that when I'm saying sometimes it's really boring to be an entrepreneur, even in the passion economy, because what you have to do is to do the same thing over and over and over again. You cannot always come up with new solutions or, just because you think it's fun, because being an entrepreneur means please your customers, not please yourself. So I think that's two challenges. But if people on these platforms realize that, oh my gosh, I'm an entrepreneur, they kind of take that seriously, to go through a program like creative startup programs.
Look for those resources to help you on the business side.
Exactly. And do the number crunching and realize that in your cash flow, you need to include health insurance and salary to yourself. Kind of push back a little bit on the platform saying, how will I acquire a customer? By being on Thinkific. That is the additional skill set that the people with passion need to have in order to succeed. And I think there's a huge potential in that, because if the passionate people like in Spotify realize that they can do that, Spotify can actually make more money.
Yeah. And there's somebody pointed out in the comments that, we haven't yet seen a shift fully away from the sort of mega value chains where tomatoes are going from Chile to Milwaukee, right? I mean, this mega value chain and transportation of goods is starting to die off. I mean, I think especially millennial consumers are very concerned about climate change. The buy local movement is growing, and these platforms do enable you to find local, I found a purveyor of locally made, really high-end compost. Got to go compost my garden this weekend, right? It's easy to find what you need locally. It's easier on Amazon, but we're all getting pretty concerned about shopping on Amazon. So as we shift toward buying local and connecting to people who are real people who are hopefully making a living wage, because like I buy a lot of my art on Etsy, my ceramics, etc. I know that those people are getting, there's no middleman. Well, Etsy's a middleman, but I'm paying directly to the ceramicist, right? As that economy evolves, it's interesting to think about how much more money could be made in the economy as all these behaviors shift. It takes a long time for macroeconomies to shift. But it will, right? And there's a lot. CS is doing some of this work. I think a lot of people around the world are saying, how can we work with creatives, creators? I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with a woman in Nairobi, Kenya this morning. We're talking about working on a project together with a youth center where they make film and they want to do more immersive, experiential films. Well, that's the kind of thing that I could imagine someone would subscribe to, and then that would support that youth center in helping those kids finish their education. Some of them will go on to be creative entrepreneurs with creative companies. So there is this much more distributed sort of economy coming together around passion or creativity. But you're right that as people start to define themselves as entrepreneurs and take on the I'm a business person, and it's not that hard to learn business. It's hard to do, to be an entrepreneur and
Yes.
stuff, but it's not hard to learn. These are
No.
not complicated things. People
No.
at Creative Startups programs, they come through and they feel completely empowered and confident because we kind of boil it down to the brass tacks. People learn what they need. They have a community of people who support them. I think there is a lot of space for hope around the passion economy. The call out I would give is to the companies that are these platforms, Patreon, Spotify, Thinkific, to say, hey, what are you doing to support entrepreneurs as business people? How can you help the people who are putting the content on your platforms become more savvy and, yes, earn more money, which is actually good for the platforms too. So it's a win-win. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, because I want to add to that. I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of the next wave impact in the passion economy, because I'm pretty sure that Spotify and Patreon and Thinkific, if they will be challenged, because new business models and new platforms will evolve. The more people with passion that gets involved in this economy, the more innovation we will see.
Yeah.
And that is going to be, I mean, there are some real potential for game changing here.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully more community and connections among human beings. At the end of the day, that's why we do the work we do at Creative Startups, is to connect people to other people around the world who are passionate about creativity and human expression, and kind of moving past the boundaries that keep us apart and coming together more. All righty. Thanks, Lena. So we'll be back for more Making the Case next week. I think next week we're talking about the term you coined called frontier incubation.
I'm looking forward to that, making that case.
Yeah. All right. See you then.
Thanks,
everybody.
Bye.